There is a quiet kind of pain that most people don't talk about because it feels too personal, too spiritual, too difficult to explain without sounding dramatic. It's the pain of trying, really trying, to change your life, to think differently, to believe in something greater, to stay hopeful, and yet waking up day after day to the same patterns, the same disappointments, the same emotional weight that seems to follow you like a shadow. You tell yourself the universe has a plan. You repeat affirmations. You visualize your dream life. You pray, you meditate, you even try to be patient because everyone says patience is part of the process. But deep inside, there's a question that keeps returning, especially in the moments when nobody is watching. Why does it feel like the universe is ignoring me? And even more painful than that is the thought that sometimes comes right after. Maybe I'm not meant for more. But what if the universe has never ignored you, not even for one day? What if the universe has been responding with precision, not to what you say you want, but to what you consistently signal without noticing? Because there is something most people never realize until life forces them to see it. Manifestation is not just a desire. It is a frequency. It is a pattern. It is the invisible message your nervous system is broadcasting through your emotions, your expectations, your self-image, and the way you move through ordinary moments when you're not trying to be spiritual. And this is where everything changes, because the strongest signal you send is not your words, it's your state. It's the energy you live in, the tone of your inner voice, and the quiet assumptions your body has learned to hold as truth. In this video, you're going to uncover the invisible signal you've been transmitting every single day, and once you understand it, you will never see your reality the same way again. The invisible signal that shapes your reality. Most people believe manifestation is something you do when you sit down in silence, close your eyes, and imagine a better life. They believe it's the moment you repeat affirmations, the moment you visualize wealth, love, healing, success, or the moment you whisper to the universe that you are ready. And on the surface, that belief feels comforting because it makes manifestation feel like a ritual you can control, something you can schedule, something you can perform. But the truth is far more intense, and it explains why so many people feel like they've been trying for years without real change. The universe doesn't respond most strongly to the moment you perform your spirituality. It responds most strongly to the version of you that you live as when you forget you're manifesting, because your life is not built by what you want once in a while. Your life is built by what you consistently expect, what you emotionally rehearse, what your body has been trained to believe is normal. And whether you realize it or not, you are sending a signal all day long, not just through your words, but through your emotional tone, your nervous system, and the hidden assumptions you carry into each moment. That signal becomes the blueprint. It becomes the invitation. It becomes the invisible agreement between you and reality. And here is what makes this so personal. You may be asking the universe for abundance while your inner world is still living as if scarcity is guaranteed. You may be asking for love while your heart is quietly preparing for rejection. You may be asking for freedom while your body is still addicted to survival mode, constantly scanning for what could go wrong. You may be asking for peace, yet the very way you think and breathe is filled with urgency. The universe isn't ignoring your request. It's responding to your frequency. And frequency is not an abstract spiritual concept. Frequency is what your mind and body are consistently broadcasting as your truth. This is why it sometimes feels like life is mocking you. Like you asked for something good, and the opposite appeared. Like you tried to change and the same patterns returned. But that isn't mockery. That is feedback. It's reality, reflecting what you're actually sending, not what you wish you were sending. Because the universe is not a courtroom where you present arguments. It's a mirror that responds to coherence. It responds to what is stable inside you. There are two versions of you. There is the version that wants transformation. That version is sincere. It wants to grow. It wants to heal. It wants to rise into a higher timeline. But there is also the version of you that has been trained by years of emotional repetition. That version of you doesn't speak with words. It speaks with reflexes. It speaks with tension. It speaks with the emotional posture you take when something doesn't happen fast enough. It speaks with the silent disappointment you carry when you wake up and nothing has changed. And that version, the one built from repetition, is often the loudest signal of all. Because your nervous system does not manifest what is logical. Your nervous system manifests what is familiar. That one truth explains almost everything. If struggle has been familiar, your body will unconsciously return to it. If disappointment has been familiar, your mind will interpret neutral situations as proof of disappointment. If being overlooked has been familiar, you will subtly carry the energy of invisibility, even while wanting to be seen, not because you are weak, not because you are cursed, but because your system was conditioned, and conditioning becomes a signal. You can see it in the smallest moments. The way you check your phone with impatience, the way you wake up with pressure already in your chest, the way you think, "I hope today is different," but your body doesn't believe it, the way you speak to yourself when you make a mistake, the way you assume something will take too long, cost too much, or never work out. These are not small details. These are energetic instructions. These moments are the invisible language you speak to reality. And reality listens more to those moments than it ever listens to your affirmations. That is why some people repeat positive words for months and still feel trapped. Because words alone do not rewrite a frequency. Words don't override the emotional atmosphere you live in. They don't override the tension in your body. They don't override the subconscious identity that says, "This is just how my life is." The universe responds to identity. It responds to the emotional truth you embody, not the story you try to tell when you're trying to sound hopeful. And this is where a deeper, more uncomfortable idea enters. Sometimes, the signal you send is not fear itself, but the need for proof. The need for proof is a powerful vibration because it contains a hidden statement. "I don't believe until it happens." That state creates a spiritual contradiction. You say you trust, but your emotional posture is waiting. You say you are open, but your nervous system is bracing, and the universe reads the bracing as the signal. Think about this carefully. If your body is bracing, it is communicating that something is unsafe, unstable, or uncertain. And when your body believes that, it doesn't relax into receiving. It doesn't enter a state of openness. It enters control. It enters prediction. It enters emotional guarding. Your mind becomes hyper-alert, scanning for signs that things aren't working, looking for delays, searching for evidence that the universe forgot you. And the more you scan, the more you amplify the feeling of lack. The more you amplify lack, the more reality reflects it back as delay, confusion, mixed signals, and repeated frustration. Not because the universe is cruel, but because the universe is coherent. Coherence is the key word. Coherence means your inner world agrees with what you want. It means your emotional state, your self-image, and your expectations are aligned in the same direction. When coherence exists, reality rearranges quickly because nothing inside you is contradicting the outcome. But when incoherence exists, you experience friction. You experience delay, you experience cycles, you experience repeating lessons, because part of you wants expansion, while another part of you is terrified of it. And the universe doesn't choose between those parts. It responds to the strongest one. The strongest signal is usually the one you repeat without thinking. It's the one that appears when you're tired, when you're disappointed, when you feel alone, when things don't go according to plan. That moment reveals your dominant frequency. That moment reveals your invisible broadcast. And once you understand that, you stop taking life personally in the way you used to. You stop seeing delays as rejection. You stop seeing silence as abandonment. You stop seeing obstacles as proof you're not chosen. Instead, you begin to see everything as information, everything as guidance, everything as a reflection of what is still active inside you. Because here is the shift that changes your entire relationship with manifestation. Your reality is not punishing you. Your reality is describing you, not the best version of you that you imagine on good days, but the emotional version of you that your system has practiced consistently. And you can change that version. You can change the signal. You can change the invisible message you've been sending. Not by forcing positivity, but by becoming honest about what your inner world has been rehearsing. When you do that, the universe becomes less mysterious and more precise. You realize life is not random. Your patterns are not accidents. Your results are not evidence of worthiness. They are evidence of alignment. And alignment is something you can build. You can train it. You can embody it. You can become it through repetition, the same way the old signal was created. So the real question is no longer, why is the universe ignoring me? The real question becomes, what have I been signaling without realizing it? and even more powerful, who would I become if the signal changed? When your body believes the past is safer than the future, there is a moment in every spiritual journey when a person realizes something that feels almost impossible at first. The mind can crave change, but the body can resist it. The heart can dream of a new life, but the nervous system can quietly cling to the old one. And the reason this happens is not because the person is lazy or incapable. It happens because the body does not live in dreams. The body lives in memory. The body lives in what it has rehearsed emotionally for years. And what it has rehearsed becomes familiar. And what is familiar becomes safe, even if it is painful. That is why some people can visualize abundance and still feel tightness in their chest. They can speak about love and still feel a deep contraction in their stomach. They can pray for peace, but the moment life becomes quiet, their mind fills the silence with worry. This isn't because they are broken. It's because their nervous system is conditioned. Their body is still living as if the past is the only reality that makes sense. And here is the most shocking part. The body can become addicted to the emotions of the past. Not in a dramatic way, not in a conscious way, but in a biological way. Because emotions are chemical. When the body repeatedly feels stress, disappointment, anxiety, rejection, and survival pressure, it becomes familiar with that chemical environment. It learns to function inside it. Over time, it begins to interpret that chemical environment as normal. And when something different starts to appear, something calmer, something more open, something more hopeful, the body doesn't always celebrate. Sometimes it panics, because calm can feel unfamiliar, peace can feel suspicious, freedom can feel dangerous, and the future, even when it is beautiful, can feel uncertain. Meanwhile, the past, even when it hurts, feels predictable. The past feels like territory the nervous system knows how to survive. So when you begin to call in a new life, your mind may be ready, but your body may still be trained to protect itself from disappointment. It may still be trained to expect betrayal, to expect failure, to expect loss. And that expectation becomes the invisible signal. You are not just manifesting what you want, you are manifesting what you can emotionally tolerate. That one sentence explains why so many people feel stuck in cycles. They say they want a relationship, but emotionally, they cannot tolerate vulnerability, so they attract distance. They say they want wealth, but emotionally, they cannot tolerate being seen, taking risks or receiving more than their family ever received, so they attract limits. They say they want success, but emotionally they cannot tolerate pressure or responsibility, so they attract self-sabotage. The universe doesn't deny them. The universe responds to their tolerance. Their tolerance is the frequency their body can hold without collapsing into fear. And fear doesn't always look like fear. Fear often looks like overthinking. Fear looks like being realistic. Fear looks like waiting for the perfect moment. Fear looks like controlling every detail. Fear looks like refusing to trust the process until there is proof. Fear looks like emotional armor, and emotional armor is a signal. Because when your nervous system is armored, your energy is not open. It is defended. It is tense. It is scanning. It is not receiving. And manifestation is not something you force into your life. It is something you align with. Alignment requires openness. Alignment requires coherence. Alignment requires a body that believes it is safe to have what the soul desires. This is why you cannot fully understand manifestation without understanding identity. Because identity is not what you claim you are. Identity is what your nervous system believes you are. Identity is what your emotional reactions reveal. Identity is the story your body tells through tension, expectations, and patterns. For example, a person may say, "I'm confident," but their body reveals insecurity through constant comparison. A person may say, "I deserve love," but their reactions reveal abandonment wounds through jealousy, testing, and emotional withdrawal. A person may say, "I trust the universe," but their daily behavior reveals desperation through constant checking and anxiety. The body exposes what words try to hide, and the universe reads the body. Because the universe responds to authenticity, not performance. And this is the hidden pain that many people carry. They want change, but they also fear the emotional consequences of change. Deep down, they fear what will happen if it doesn't work again. They fear the humiliation of hoping too much. They fear the feeling of being disappointed again. So their nervous system creates a protective strategy. Expect less. Stay guarded. Keep it small. That way, if nothing happens, it hurts less. But there is a cost. The cost is that the signal becomes small. The signal becomes guarded. The signal becomes a quiet agreement with limitation. And reality mirrors it. Not because reality wants you to suffer, but because reality is consistent. This is why the past can repeat itself even when you are trying to evolve. Because the past is not repeating through events alone. The past is repeating through emotional state, through interpretation, through expectation, through nervous system conditioning, through identity. If someone was rejected in childhood, their nervous system can carry rejection as an expectation. So even when someone new enters their life, they look for signs of rejection. They overanalyze. They read silence as abandonment. They interpret a delay as disinterest, and their reaction shapes the relationship. It creates emotional pressure. It creates distance. And then reality confirms what the body expected all along, not because the universe is punishing them, but because the body was broadcasting rejection as truth. This is why spiritual growth is not only about thinking differently, it is about feeling differently long enough for the body to accept it as safe. Because the body changes through repetition, the nervous system learns through experience, and the future becomes possible only when the body can hold the energy of it without falling into the past. That is what people mean when they talk about a quantum shift. It is not just a mindset shift, it is a state shift. It is a nervous system shift. It is the moment you stop being emotionally loyal to old pain. And that loyalty can be subtle. It can look like holding grudges. It can look like carrying resentment. It can look like always remembering what went wrong. It can look like refusing to celebrate small wins because you don't want to jinx it. It can look like waiting for the other shoe to drop. That isn't intelligence. That is survival conditioning. That is a body that believes hope is dangerous. But here is the truth that creates freedom. The universe is not waiting for you to be perfect. The universe is waiting for coherence. It is waiting for you to become the person who can receive what you ask for. And receiving is not passive. Receiving is a state. Receiving is an identity. Receiving is a nervous system that no longer collapses into fear when the unknown appears. This is why so many people say manifestation works when they finally let go. Not because letting go is magic, but because letting go relaxes the body. It releases control. It creates openness, and openness changes the signal. In that relaxed state, the person stops broadcasting desperation and starts broadcasting trust. They stop broadcasting fear and start broadcasting allowance. They stop broadcasting tension and start broadcasting coherence. And reality responds. So the question becomes deeper than desire. It becomes identity. It becomes emotional conditioning. It becomes the hidden truth of what your body expects. Because until the body believes a new future is safe, it will keep pulling you back into the familiar past, even while your mind is begging for change. And that, more than anything, is the invisible signal the universe reads every single day. The universe responds to coherence, not desire. There is something deeply misunderstood about the way manifestation works, and the misunderstanding is responsible for more disappointment than most people realize. Many individuals believe the universe responds to intensity. They think the more they want something, the more they focus on it, the more they obsess over it, the more they pray for it, the more likely it becomes. They assume desire is power, and that longing is fuel. But in reality, desire without coherence is noise. It creates spiritual friction. It creates emotional exhaustion. And it often creates the exact opposite of what the person is asking for. Because the universe does not respond to the loudness of your wanting. The universe responds to the stability of your being. Coherence is what makes the signal believable. Coherence is what makes the signal strong. Coherence is when your inner world is aligned instead of divided. When your thoughts, emotions, self-image, and expectations are all pointing in the same direction. And this is where many people unknowingly sabotage themselves. They desire a new reality, but their inner world is fragmented. Half of them wants the miracle, and the other half is terrified of it. Half of them wants abundance, and the other half feels guilty about it. Half of them wants love, and the other half refuses to trust anyone. Half of them wants to be seen, and the other half hides. That division is not just psychological, It becomes energetic. It becomes the invisible signal. And the universe can only respond to what is consistent. It can only amplify what is stable. That is why many people experience a strange form of spiritual contradiction. They can feel like they are doing the work, while nothing changes externally. They can feel deeply sincere. They can feel emotionally invested. But sincerity alone does not create alignment. Emotional investment alone does not create coherence. Sometimes emotional investment is actually desperation disguised as devotion, and desperation is one of the most powerful signals of lack, because desperation contains a hidden message that most people don't notice. I don't have it. Even if the words being spoken are positive, the vibration underneath is absence. It is waiting. It is hunger. It is tension. It is a nervous system that believes something is missing. And the universe reads the missing more than it reads the words. That's why someone can say, "I am abundant," while feeling panic when they check their bank account. Someone can say, "I am loved," while feeling fear when they don't get a text back. Someone can say, "I trust," while constantly searching for proof. That is incoherence. That is the signal being split. And the universe responds to the split by creating mixed results, inconsistent outcomes, delays that feel confusing, and cycles that repeat. Because incoherence produces unstable manifestation. The deeper truth is that the universe is not responding to what you hope for once in a while. It is responding to what you repeatedly affirm with your emotional state. It is responding to what you've practiced in the dark, in the quiet moments when nobody is listening, and when you are not performing your faith. Those moments reveal what you truly believe. And belief is not a thought. Belief is a state. Belief is what you naturally return to. Belief is what you assume before evidence appears. Belief is what your body expects. Belief is what you would bet on, even if you never say it out loud. That is why you can't trick the universe. You can't pretend. You can't impress the universe with spiritual vocabulary, because the universe doesn't care about the story you tell. It cares about the emotional truth you live. And this is where manifestation becomes extremely honest, almost uncomfortably honest, because the moment you understand coherence, you begin to realize something that changes your identity. You are always manifesting. You are always in communication with reality, even when you're not thinking about it, even when you're distracted, even when you're tired, even when you're angry, even when you're numb, even when you're lost. Every day is a broadcast. Every reaction is a transmission. Every assumption is a silent instruction. The most powerful manifestations do not come from wanting. They come from becoming. When someone becomes a person who feels worthy, they no longer need to chase validation. They attract healthier relationships because they stop sending the signal of desperation. When someone becomes a person who feels safe, they stop living in hypervigilance. They attract calmer outcomes because their nervous system no longer expects chaos. When someone becomes a person who respects themselves, they stop tolerating what drains them. They attract new opportunities because they stop broadcasting the identity of being stuck. This is why people talk about quantum shifts as if they are sudden miracles. Sometimes they are sudden on the outside, but they were built slowly on the inside. A quantum shift is often the moment when coherence reaches a tipping point, when the new identity becomes stronger than the old conditioning, when the signal becomes stable enough for reality to reorganize around it. And that is what most people don't understand. Reality reorganizes around coherence because coherence is clarity. Coherence is instruction. Coherence is certainty. The universe responds quickly to certainty, not because it favors certain people, but because certainty is a clean signal. Certainty does not mean knowing every detail. Certainty means the inner world is settled. The inner world is not negotiating. The inner world is not begging. The inner world is not waiting for proof to relax. It is calm, it is grounded, it is aligned, and there is a reason this matters on such a deep level. Because so many people are not suffering because they lack potential. They are suffering because they are divided. They are spiritually exhausted because they are constantly switching frequencies. One day they feel hopeful, the next day they feel defeated. One moment they trust, the next moment they panic. One moment they believe, the next moment they collapse into doubt. They are not wrong for feeling that. It is human, but it creates instability in the signal. It creates confusion in the energy, and the universe reflects that confusion. That is why the same patterns keep returning, because the signal keeps returning. And the signal keeps returning because the identity keeps returning. The most painful part of this is that many people blame the universe. They think the universe is unfair. They think the universe is silent. They think they are being tested endlessly. But what is really happening is something much more empowering. They are receiving feedback. They are receiving a mirror. The universe is showing them what is dominant inside them, not to shame them, but to reveal the truth. Because once the truth is revealed, the power returns. When you understand coherence, you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" And you start seeing the deeper layer. What is this reflecting in me? That question is not self-blame. It is self-awareness. It is spiritual maturity. It is the moment you stop treating manifestation as magic and start treating it as alignment. And there is an emotional freedom that comes with that, because you realize you don't have to force life. You don't have to chase signs. You don't have to beg reality to change. You don't have to manipulate the universe with rituals performed from anxiety. You can build coherence. You can become stable inside yourself. And when that stability becomes natural, reality begins to shift in a way that feels almost inevitable. Not because the universe suddenly decided to bless you, but because the signal finally became clear enough to receive what you asked for. That is what coherence is. It is the invisible key that separates wishful thinking from true manifestation. The hidden agreement you make with reality. Every morning, there is a silent moment that happens every day, and most people never notice how powerful it is. It happens before the phone lights up, before the world demands anything, before conversations begin, before responsibilities take over. It happens in the first few minutes after waking up, when your eyes open and your mind starts to reconnect with reality. In that moment, something subtle takes place. You return to yourself. You return to your emotional home. You return to the identity you have been practicing, and that return is not neutral. It is a decision, even if it doesn't feel like one, because the first emotional tone you embody in the morning becomes the first signal of the day. It becomes the frequency that sets the stage. It becomes the invisible agreement you make with reality about what kind of day is likely to happen. For some people, the first feeling is pressure. It's not always loud, but it's present. The chest feels tight. The mind immediately starts listing what must be done. The body carries urgency like an invisible weight. For others, it's disappointment. They wake up already tired, already heavy, already wondering why life is still the same. For others, it's fear. A vague fear without a clear reason, but a fear that the day will bring problems, rejection, conflict, or loss. And for many, it's lack. A quiet internal statement that says, something is missing even before they stand up. That is the agreement, not spoken out loud, not consciously chosen, but emotionally embodied. And the universe responds to that agreement more consistently than it responds to your wishes. Because manifestation is not only about what you visualize at night, it is about what you normalize in the morning. It is about what your nervous system assumes is true before evidence appears. It is about the emotional direction you choose before the world even touches you. This is why many people feel trapped in repetition. They don't just repeat events, they repeat the emotional beginning of the day. They repeat the same inner atmosphere. They wake up and immediately return to yesterday. They return to old worries. They return to old identities. They return to the same story without realizing it. And once they return to the story, they begin to live from it. They interpret everything through it. They react from it. They make choices from it. And the universe reflects it. The morning is not just a start. It is an energetic declaration. And because it is so early, because it is so automatic, it becomes extremely honest. It reveals what you truly believe. It reveals what you truly expect. It reveals what your body has been conditioned to accept as reality. This is where the invisible signal becomes undeniable. The signal is not what you say you want. The signal is what you emotionally rehearse the moment you re-enter consciousness. A person can have the strongest spiritual intentions, the deepest prayers, the most beautiful goals. But if they wake up into emotional scarcity, the day begins with scarcity. If they wake up into emotional pressure, the day begins with pressure. If they wake up into emotional distrust, the day begins with distrust. And that initial frequency acts like a magnet, pulling matching experiences into the field of awareness. Not because life is cruel, but because awareness follows vibration. The mind is a filter. The nervous system is a filter. Your energy is a filter. What you feel becomes what you notice. What you notice becomes what you focus on. What you focus on becomes what you reinforce. And what you reinforce becomes what grows. That is how reality is shaped. Not by one grand spiritual act, but by repeated emotional instructions. And this is why there is a tragic pattern many people live inside without understanding it. They wake up stressed, and then the day gives them reasons to stress. They wake up defensive, and then the day gives them reasons to defend. They wake up doubtful, and then the day gives them reasons to doubt. The person thinks life is happening to them, but in truth, life is responding to them. The universe is not ignoring them. The universe is cooperating with their baseline. Baseline is everything. Your baseline is the emotional state you return to when nothing is forcing you to feel something else. It's what lives underneath the surface. It's your default frequency. Some people's baseline is peace. Others have built a baseline of anxiety. Some people's baseline is gratitude. Others have built a baseline of resentment. Some people's baseline is trust. Others have built a baseline of fear. And the baseline becomes the signal. That means the most important spiritual moment of your day may not be your meditation. It may be the moment you wake up and remember who you think you are. Because the moment you remember who you think you are, you remember what you think is possible. You remember what you believe you deserve. You remember what you expect from people. You remember what you fear. You remember what you feel you lack. And that memory becomes an energetic posture. It becomes an emotional stance. It becomes the way you move through the day. And once the posture is set, manifestation becomes almost automatic. A person who wakes up with an internal posture of "I'm behind" will spend the day chasing time, feeling pressure, interpreting everything as a race. A person who wakes up with an internal posture of "I'm forgotten" will spend the day scanning for rejection, reading silence as abandonment, feeling invisible even in rooms full of people. A person who wakes up with an internal posture of "nothing works for me" will interpret small obstacles as proof of doom, and their energy will collapse each time. That collapse is a signal. It tells the universe, "This is my identity." And identity is a powerful contract. This contract is not just emotional, it becomes behavioral. The person makes decisions that match the contract. They avoid risk because the contract says it won't work. They settle because the contract says this is as good as it gets. They over-explain because the contract says I might be rejected. They overgive because the contract says I need to earn love. They stay stuck because the contract says I don't know how to win. And then the universe reflects those decisions. Life responds, and the person calls it fate. But it isn't fate, it's coherence. The universe reflects the emotional agreement you make with reality, not to punish you, but to confirm what you are consistently declaring as truth. That's why the signal is invisible but unstoppable. It shapes outcomes through expectation, focus, behavior, interpretation, and the emotional atmosphere you live in. And here is what makes this chapter deeply emotional. Most people didn't choose their baseline on purpose. Their baseline was installed. It was shaped by childhood, by betrayal, by unstable environments, by trauma, by disappointment, by being criticized, by being made to feel unsafe, by having to be strong too early. Their nervous system learned survival as a lifestyle. It learned urgency as normal. It learned control as protection. So they wake up into that frequency without realizing it, and they assume it is simply who they are. But it is not who they are. It is what they've been practicing. That difference matters because it brings back power. It means the signal can be changed. It means the morning contract can be rewritten. It means reality does not have to keep reflecting yesterday. Because the most dangerous part of the invisible signal is not fear itself. It is the unconscious repetition of fear. It is waking up into the same emotional script and calling it life. It is living in the same inner atmosphere and hoping the outside world will change first. But the universe does not wait for your outside world to change in order to respond. It responds now. It responds to the first moments. It responds to the baseline. It responds to the agreement you make each morning. And when you finally see that agreement clearly, something shifts inside you. The universe stops feeling distant. It stops feeling mysterious. It stops feeling unfair. because you realize the universe has been listening the whole time. It has been listening to the first signal of the day. If there is one truth that deserves to stay with you after everything you've heard, it is this: the universe has never been ignoring you, not for a single second. What felt like silence was not abandonment. What felt like rejection was not punishment. What felt like delay was not proof that you are unworthy. It was something far more precise, far more honest, and far more empowering than most people are ready to accept at first. The universe has been responding to you perfectly, not to the surface-level version of you that hopes, repeats affirmations, and tries to do everything right, but to the deeper version of you that lives underneath the words. Because your reality is shaped by what you consistently signal, and the signal is not just your desire, it is your emotional baseline, it is your identity, it is the hidden agreement you carry into each day. It is the frequency your body returns to when no one is watching. It is the expectation your nervous system protects as truth. And when you understand that, you stop feeling powerless. You stop believing that life is random. You stop asking the universe for permission to change. Instead, you start seeing something extraordinary. Every moment is communication. Every reaction is instruction. Every assumption is a message. Every morning is a contract with reality. And when you become aware of that, you become aware of your own power again, not in a fantasy way, but in a real way. In the way that changes how you breathe, how you interpret life, how you move through the day, and what you allow yourself to believe is possible. The greatest shift is not outside of you. It is inside of you. It happens when you realize that manifestation is not something you perform, but something you embody. It happens when you stop begging for signs and start becoming the signal. It happens when you understand that your future is not blocked by the universe, but by the unconscious repetition of the past. And the moment the repetition ends, the moment coherence begins, reality has no choice but to respond differently. Because the universe is not your enemy, it is your mirror. And now, you can finally choose what you want it to reflect. Now let me ask you a question that could change everything. What if the life you've been praying for has been waiting for you to stop sending mixed signals and finally become emotionally ready to receive it? If this message reached you deeply, it's not an accident. Subscribe to the channel now, because the next videos will take you even further into the real mechanics of manifestation, identity, and spiritual alignment. And before you leave, continue watching on the end screen, because the video that appears next is exactly what you need to keep this transformation going and turn awareness into real results in your daily life.